saving the victims of Hurricane Ian.
So you're looking at over 700, maybe even over 800 rescues since the storm ended.
It's not just a crisis for Florida. This is an American crisis.
Now, a first look at the damage left in the wake of the storm.
But I literally watched my house disappear.
The cleanup begins closer to home.
I'm used to storms, but this is far beyond anything I've ever been through.
As South Carolina now endures Ian's final landfall. This is First Coast News, on your side.
Right now at 5 on this Friday, the Florida Peninsula is cleaning up after Ian moved through the state, and now the storm is making its way through the Carolinas. Thank you for joining us. I'm Anthony Austin.
And I'm Heather Crawford. On the Florida Peninsula, the Gulf Coast bore the brunt of the damage. This is new video right here. This is from a neighborhood in Port Charlotte. You can see roofs right there ripped off the homes.
And here on the First Coast, this is video of cleanup efforts and flood damage in St. Augustine.
And now Ian is leaving its mark on the Carolinas. The storm making landfall as a Category 1 hurricane in South Carolina this afternoon. This is video right here from Pawleys Island in South Carolina. You can see heavy rain and flooding on that barrier island. And we have live team coverage for you this evening on the First Coast, but we want to start first with Chief Meteorologist Tim Deegan with the latest on Ian. Tim.
All right, thank you, Anthony and Heather. And indeed, Ian, as a hurricane, a Category 1, making landfall near Georgetown, South Carolina. Nothing like Hugo, so good news there. A lot of folks maybe remember Hugo from 1989. Hit hard the coast from, well, Charleston on off to the north. And now it's called post-tropical. So what does that mean? That means that not only are the winds now below hurricane force, but it's not going to reinvigorate. However, it's still going to produce some pretty rough weather. First of all, tornado watch in effect for portions of North Carolina off to the right. Remember, Ian passed off to the right of us. We're on its left side, and so we did not have tornadoes. That was fantastic. And those record floods that we saw over central Florida, not here on the First Coast as far as rainfall is concerned. So there is Ian, what's left of it right about there. So to the right of it, that's where the tornado watch. But the concern for flooding, actually those who are just to the left, that is to the west of Ian. Heaviest rains right now in Columbia, but eventually Charlotte will be involved. In fact, now involved for about the next 6 to 8 hours as Ian will continue to work to the north and northwest. But that's all away from us, folks. We're going to show you in just a moment when we talk to our reporters. The sun is shining at sunset tonight. Temperatures at 70 degrees. However, we're still dealing with the sloshing high tides of what's left from Ian. We'll talk about that in just a few moments.
Tim, thank you. We do want to let you know, happening within the hour, Governor Ron DeSantis will be providing an update after Ian here on the First Coast. You're taking a live look in St. Augustine, where he is expected to speak just before 5:30. We will bring you his press conference live as soon as it starts. Well, one of the hardest hit areas in St. Augustine is, again, the Davis Shores neighborhood.
That is a neighborhood that has experienced so much flooding over the years. Jessica Clark joins us live there now. How are things looking today, Jess?
Good evening. You know, we were anticipating this, and it's just heartbreaking to see it again. Belongings from inside of homes that have been flooded just being piled up along the curb because they have been damaged by water that is not clean by any means, possibly contaminated with sewage. And again, just coming out of homes, vans being pulled up into driveways and loaded with what could be salvaged. When I asked somebody around here in the Davis Shores area, we're on Coquina, so how'd you do? And he just said, it's pretty catastrophic. Some people are telling us that, oh, it wasn't as bad as Irma. And then others are telling us it was worse than Matthew. So it just really depends on who you're talking to and where they were and their experiences with the storm. So in Davis Shores, right on the edge, there's this very popular restaurant called Gas Restaurant. The owners are just so tuned into the community. They have been flooded so many times by the different hurricanes we've had here since 2016. And again, water got into the building. The water has gotten into the building so many times that when I talked to the owner and he showed me around, he said, oh, we had 6 inches. It wasn't that bad. I said, Ben, 6 inches is pretty bad. But he said that really he's going to be able to salvage a lot of the restaurant because he's had to replace so much stuff already he's learned from other storms. Listen to what he told me.
We don't have any demolition to do. We don't have to source equipment or anything like that. We were really very fortunate in that regard. All of our food stocks we moved up so that they wouldn't be affected. We never lost power. So everything, we won't have anything to throw away.
Yeah, so he thinks he'll be able to sanitize and clean up the restaurant and then open, get this, by Tuesday, which is just kind of startling to me. But they want to get their employees back to work and, you know, they want to be able to be a viable business again. Talking about lessons learned, the folks here in the Davis Shores neighborhood who have lived through the storms, they have learned lessons. Now, there are some newcomers, of course, since we've had some storms that have rolled through. And so talking with one of the women here who has lived through various storms, who has an elevated house now, she had this to say.
Because we know what to do, we're okay with it, but all the new people on the road, they have no idea. I don't think they knew to raise their furniture up. So, but I'm not seeing a lot of mattresses like we did last round. And you remember last round, everybody had all their furniture to the curbs. So I'm not seeing that so much. So hopefully they did better with the warnings of us.
Well, and you know what, certainly we're not seeing as much furniture, like she mentioned, mattresses, things like that out on the curb, but there are some. And it's just heartbreaking to see. The man who lives here, he says this was his first hurricane in this home, 11 inches inside the house. I mean, whether it's 11 inches, 2 feet, whatever, that's a lot of water, and it can make a lot of things go bad quickly. We're live in Davis Shores. Jessica Clark, First Coast News, back to you.
11 inches of water in your house. Wow. Thanks, Jessica. And while we're talking about St. Augustine, people in St. Augustine are being asked to limit water usage as much as they can because you need to right now because of the city's sewer system. So you can do that by taking shorter showers, delaying doing laundry if you can, and don't run water when you don't have to, like while brushing your teeth. But once again, the city says they're trying to relieve stress on the sewer system.
And now let's go out to Flagler Beach. People already out there enjoying the sunshine today, enjoying the beach after Ian, but there is still work to be done for crews. On your sides, Tristan Hardy continues our live team coverage now. So Tristan, tell us what you've seen in Flagler Beach today.
Well, Heather, I can tell you, compared to what we experienced yesterday, the scene right now is a stark contrast. It's almost like day and night. Well, people are just enjoying the beach. Crews were working on power lines, and I saw FDOT working around this blue house right behind me. I'm gonna step out the way so you can get a better picture. You know, I saw them putting some tape around the house. You can see the driveway is almost gone, and there's a sign on the house that says that it's unsafe. Now, an official from Florida Department of Transportation told me that crews were working on a riprap. And that means it's a crash barrier between the water and the road. So what they did is that they set stones and sand around the house to prevent the road from deteriorating. Now, neighbors say this house in particular has been hit by multiple storms since Matthew.
It's just typical because it seems to happen to during every hurricane, the water comes up from the ocean and goes out right there.
Now, the future of the house is up in the air. That's going to be a problem for the homeowner to figure out. We're live in Flagler Beach. I'm Tristan Hardy, First Coast News, on your side.
Yeah, we remember seeing that house has been looking like that since Matthew. Thank you, Tristan. 2 people on the First Coast died as a result of the storm. Investigators with Florida Highway Patrol say a car was driving on Cracker Swamp Road in Palatka when the driver lost control, drove over standing water and hydroplaned. The car flipped and landed in a ditch filled with water. Both people in the car, a man and a woman in their 30s, died. Their identities have not been released.
And tragedy for another First Coast family. An 11-year-old from Jacksonville has died after falling from an 11th floor balcony in Panama City Beach. Now, city officials there say the child's family evacuated from here in Jacksonville to a condo in Panama City Beach. They say it does appear to be a tragic accident.
San Marco, we know that's an area prone to flooding, but they did not see much damage yesterday. The water came moving in with the tide today. I want you to take a look at this video from this afternoon. Jeannie Blaylock took this video in San Marco. You can see water there starting to pool in the street.
And you know, instead of picking up the pieces today, another Jacksonville neighborhood is enjoying the sunshine. We're talking about Ken Knight Drive. It's over on the city's northwest side, and it was dry today. The neighborhood prone to flooding and was hit hard, very hard during Irma. Irma destroyed homes because of all that floodwater there, displacing dozens of residents. In fact, the Jacksonville Transportation Authority had buses on standby yesterday to evacuate people if needed. But the good news is Ian's water levels never got close.
No, we really didn't have any damage. I mean, it was all good in the hood. You know, God spared the brothers. He did real good over here. We just had mild rain, wind, I mean, just a little rain here and there. Beautiful day, just like the day right now. You could have got out there yesterday as well. She hadn't got back home yet.
So Warren Grant said that he and other neighbors did prepare. They put out sandbags, having previously experienced that significant flooding from Irma.
Jacksonville Beach is another area that suffered minimal damage thanks to its line of defense, the dunes. On your side's Brianna Ray Turner is joining us live at Jacksonville Beach. So Brianna, how close was water to breaching the dunes there?
Well, Anthony, not even close. Take a look for yourself. Look how tall these dunes are. And just to give you an idea, I'm 5'5", maybe 5'6", but these are 8 to 10 feet, according to beach marine expert Kevin Brown. I mean, look how tall these dunes are. Brown says the high tide washed away what they call the foredune, the part of the dune that is able to take on the storm surge and keep it from reaching commercial and residential properties. After doing a survey this morning, he says the dunes lost on average between 5 and 10 feet. That's about 25% of the entire dune structure. That erosion also left many dunes with steep cliffs, as you see. They may look appealing, but I promise you, they aren't safe to stand on because they are unstable. I talked to a longtime beach resident, Daniel Evans. He describes how Ian impacted the beach and the dunes.
This wasn't like this before, and so they just built it up. And it came up pretty much, you had to get a picture of that, but it pretty much chopped the beach up. We had a big sandbar that used to run out, kind of run out and dropped off, but now we have no drop off at all. So it ate like 4 feet of the beach, 3 feet of the beach.
Coming up at 6, how long experts say it will take for these dunes to recover. I'm live here at Jacksonville Beach. Brianna Ray Turner, First Coast News on your side.
Well, we are continuing to follow the destruction caused by Ian. Homes, businesses, landmarks all across Florida have been impacted and damaged by one of the strongest storms ever to hit our state.
On your side's Rich Donnelly reports on a devastating blow to the community of Flagler Beach.
It's a reminder of the constant power of Mother Nature. Ian causing all types of damage across the First Coast, including destroying the pier here at Flagler Beach. More than just planks of wood next to the beach, the pier at Flagler Beach was an icon in the area. It was also home to the Funky Pelican restaurant. Manager Crystal Nobre is still assessing the damage.
Seeing devastation to the pier, we're the staple to the Flagler Beach, and seeing it, it's devastating. It puts you to tears.
Many people who live in the area came to see what happened to a landmark that has stood proud since the 1920s.
It is really sad. It's incredible to see what nature can do, but it's sad to see what it does to everything else.
And while the waves may have destroyed the pier, that same water is somewhat of a welcome sight to Benjamin Lacey. He brought his son to go surfing.
What you're waiting for is for it to turn offshore, which is this morning. So this is a surfer's dream today because it's going to be offshore all day. It's going to clean up quite a bit. Wind's going to go straight west, and should be pretty fun this afternoon.
Out of the water, and with time to think about the devastation, recovery is already in the works.
And we're Flagler strong. We'll bounce back. As soon as we get power, we're going to take care of everybody.
Plans were already in place to build a new pier at Flagler Beach. Of course, now that this one has been destroyed, those plans will need to go in motion. Reporting in Flagler Beach, Rich Donnelly, First Coast News, on your side.